Lauri Markkanen's third season was so hyped. He was supposed to take another jump to being a star. Instead, it was like when I was a kid and I went to see Phantom Menace. I love Star Wars until then. It crushed my dreams.
The Phantom Menace was 18 months ago, Tim. It still hurts.
Has Lauri Markkanen crushed Bulls fans' dreams? In this video, we're predicting how good Lauri Markkanen will actually be once his career is over. Was that third year a sign, like Star Wars, that things will mostly suck? Or is his movie getting a plot twist? Hey, it's Casey. Welcome to AM Hoops. Hit subscribe, and there's a little bell right next to the subscribe button. Hit that too. They both help out the channel. It is our last Future Friday for a while. We're gonna get rid of all the series so we can focus on these games, but we're ending this week with a request for a Lauri Markkanen Future Friday from Moose. Moose is our latest patron. If you also want to request videos, get a shout out, whatever, check out the Patreon. Link is in the description. All right, so here's a rundown of this video so you know what to expect. First, we will look at why Lauri regressed last year. Then we're gonna predict his future. And finally, I'll explain why I think that's how his career will end up. So this is why Lauri Markkanen ended up being the Phantom Menace of NBA players this year. Coach Jim Boylen and injuries. The only reason Boylen isn't already fired is the new front office guy isn't a jerk. Arturas Karnisovas said he didn't even want to talk about Lauri Markkanen's performance because he didn't even know the guy yet. That sounds like something a nice guy would say. That guy probably wants to give Jim Boylen a thorough look before he fires him. Well, I think once he looks, he'll see how much Boylen messed up Lauri Markkanen. They will have a new coach. Boylen turned Markkanen into a spot-up shooter. Dude just stood on the perimeter way too much, getting catch-and-shoot threes. Markkanen's usage rate and chances to attack the rim declined. Oh, but his catch-and-shoot threes went up. Did Boylen even watch Lauri Markkanen's first 2 years? I know he did partially, but he turned one of the tools in his toolbox to the entire toolbox, just catch and shoot. The dude is an athletic 7-footer who can handle the ball and score at all 3 levels, not just from deep. It's like Boylen has Tobias Harris and uses him just like Kyle Korver, that's it. Also, the offense just sucked as a whole, 29th in the NBA, so nobody was gonna be an offensive star this year. Now, on top of bad coaching, Markkanen has a bad body. For the third straight season, he missed times with pretty serious injuries. This year he had an oblique issue early in the season, he sprained his ankle in January, then a stress reaction in his pelvis. That just sounds awful. One good thing about Markkanen though is he's never let that kill his game in the past as long as he can get on the court. I mean, in year 2, he had an early elbow sprain. Now that should have hurt his season as a shooter, right? Instead, he played like a future all-star. This year, though, injuries made everything worse. And that means we saw the worst of Lauri Markkanen in year 3. Career lows in points, rebounds, field goal attempts, field goal percentage, and three-point percentage. Boylen gave him less minutes, and sometimes he would sit an entire quarter. But what about the best of Lauri Markkanen? The best was in February of year 2. For the entire month, he averaged 26 points and 12 rebounds. He dropped 35 points against the 4th best defense in the league in Boston. But the real Lauri Markkanen is somewhere in the middle. Not the worst and not the best. He is somewhere in between, and I think that looks like this. 0 MVPs, 0 All-NBAs, 1 All-Star, 0 Defensive Player of the Year, and 0 All-Defensive Teams. And honestly, I'm being generous with that resume. I think Markkanen is a borderline all-star at best for a reason we haven't even mentioned yet. What we don't see from Markkanen that often is aggressiveness. And this season made that even more apparent. The bottom line with Lauri Markkanen is this: when the going gets really tough, when the conditions aren't perfect, he shrinks. He is a passive player. I don't think he'll ever be the best player on a good team or even the number 2 option. I think instead he'll probably be that kind of guy that a contender would love to trade for. Someone who can do a lot of things very well, like Danilo Gallinari, who has never made an all-star team. Earlier, I blamed Jim Boylen for a lot of Markkanen's bad this year, but let's be honest. If Lauri was more aggressive, he could have overcome a lot of it. It was obvious that Zach LaVine went away from Jim Boylen's system at times this year. Lauri should have put the ball on the floor more often and do what he does best. He is a really good player on the move, not standing at the three-point line. And who knows that more than anyone else? Lauri Markkanen himself, but he let Jim Boylen hijack his season. He just does not have that assertive mindset that will stand up and fight for himself, like his teammate Zach LaVine. And that was thrown in all of our faces with the Chicago Bulls this summer. We all saw what made the greatest Bull of all time the greatest player of all time. Michael Jordan had talent for days, but he also had a killer mentality. Lauri Markkanen is the opposite of that, and he cannot be a good player unless every little thing is just perfect. This year showed me that if things aren't perfect, a perfect system, the right amount of touches, a supportive coach with a pat on the back, Markkanen shrinks to a below average player. That kind of guy has a ceiling of a borderline all-star. Beyond that, I'm really concerned about injuries. I mean, he's missed 76 games in 3 years because of injury. That's almost a full season. Dude is injury prone no matter how you cut it, and that kind of player has a really hard time reaching his potential. My last big concern that I have about Markkanen is his defense. His ceiling defensively is average. This year he struggled defensively, could not take advantage of mismatches, and that could be partly to blame for the minutes dip. Now look, I know so far this sounds like I'm being really negative, and I'll actually admit, I do sound really negative, but I'm not being negative if you just forget that he's Lauri Markkanen and you just think, okay, this is a 7th overall pick. If I'm saying a 7th overall pick is a borderline all-star, that's actually great. Look at the 7th overall pick the last 10 years. Kobe White, we're not sure. Wendell Carter, probably not. Jamal Murray, yes, borderline all-star. Moutier, no. Randall, no. McLemore, no. Barnes, no. Biyombo, no. Monroe, no. So I am actually really high on Lauri Markkanen, believe it or not. The issue was that people got so excited by that second year, and especially that February, where he dropped 26 points and 12 boards the entire month. A borderline all-star is actually great for where he was drafted. So if that is the case, then what needs to happen for him to live up to that potential? Well, we already said his biggest issues are consistency, aggressiveness, and injuries. The perfect environment for Markkanen is a coach and a system that play to his strengths, cut to the basket, lead the charge in transition, put the ball on the floor, score from all 3 levels. He needs to have the usage rate of a featured player. That means he'll probably be the best player on a really bad team or leading the second unit off the bench on a good team. Otherwise, he won't get the required touches. He'll need to maximize his defense and be average, and he'll have to improve as a finisher at the rim. And if all that happens, I can see Markkanen making one all-star team. Now, about his future on the Bulls. If the new Bulls front office agrees with me in this assessment, they have a decision to make about giving him a new contract. He is eligible for an extension once the season starts, and they'll probably wait until after the year to evaluate him for one more season. I think a contract around $11 million is perfect. That's the same as TJ Warren, Brooke Lopez, Spencer Dinwiddie. If Lauri thinks he's worth more than that, then he might leave the Bulls after this season. That means there is a lot of pressure this coming year on Lauri Markkanen to show he's worth, like, Draymond Green money, in the mid-20s per year. Here's what the new Bulls GM had to say about all their young players, including Markkanen.
You know, Kobe White I thought he had a really nice rookie year. Wendell Carter, I think, is a really nice piece and somebody who I think we can look to grow with in the future. Lauri is a modern day stretch 4. I think he's got a great stroke. He's got a wonderful shooting touch. Regressed a little bit last year. I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah, and I hate to admit it, that is not good if you like Markkanen in a Bulls uniform. It sounds like they're committed to keeping Kobe White and Wendell Carter Jr., but Lauri's future is up in the air. And if they don't hire a new coach, you can forget about Lauri Markkanen being a Bull after next season. I know a lot of people, especially Bulls fans, got really excited and saw a future star in year 2 of Lauri Markkanen. he is not that good. But the good news is he is not as bad as what year 3 said. If he plays all of his cards right and everything's perfect, I see a borderline all-star career for Lauri Markkanen. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.